Hey guys, it's Kesara, and today we're going to be doing my March reading wrap-up. In the month of March, I ended up reading 9 books. I was in a pretty big reading slump towards the end of the month, so I feel like the last 2 weeks I didn't end up finishing any books. So because of that, I'm not going to go into like any goals check-ins or anything like that because I basically did not meet any of my goals for the month of March. I did end up reading 2 physical books, which is less than the previous month, but it's still percentage-wise more than I normally do. So I did that particular goal, but when it comes to like continuing on series, I continued on 1 series and it was like literally 1 book, and then my read it or unhaul challenge, I didn't get to any of the books. So that means in the months of April and May, instead of only doing 2 to 3 books per month, I'm gonna have to do 4 books each month, which we'll see how that goes. I'm a little concerned about it, to be honest, but like I said, I was sick and I was in a reading slump, so we have to give ourselves some grace sometimes. I did DNF quite a few books, but I feel like most of them I didn't even bother putting it on like Goodreads or Storygraph or Fable or anything because I knew there was a good chance I was gonna DNF them. So we're just gonna pretend like none of those exist, and I'll give those books a second chance when I'm out of my reading slump. But as always, we're gonna start with my lowest rated book and work my way all up to my highest rated book, which I had 2 5-star books this month. I would say both of the 5-star books are like new favorites of mine, so that might be why I ended up having a little bit of a reading slump as well. So the first book I want to talk about is Our Infinite Fate by Laura Steven. So I picked this up like right after I was sick, so I was kind of just trying to find something that was easy and quick to read, and the idea of this book made me really want to pick it up because it's about 2 people that are kind of like fated to be together, and they like meet life after life, but when they meet and fall in love, they have to kill each other or before I think their 18th birthday, and they have the same birthday because they are born, I guess, immediately after they both die every life. And I found the idea of this really interesting, and I also feel like I liked the structure of the novel because it would jump between like present day and then one of their past lives, and then back to present day and then one of their past lives, and the past life kind of gave good credence to like what was happening in present day. The problem is the only character that I liked in this book was the younger sister of the main character. I didn't really care for either of the 2 main characters, either the love interest or like our main character that this is following, and because of that I like didn't care about their romance. I felt like I would have liked to have more detail about them present day and more like just understanding their relationship than all of the work that was put into like actually having pretty well written like past lives that like they all felt so different in a good way. Like I feel like those sides of it where we got that like world building I felt incredibly interested in, but also I feel like it took away from the main story, and because of that I didn't end up loving these characters and being as interested in their story to begin with. And then the ending happened and I was just like, I don't love this ending. Like I really hate the ending. Like I was leaning towards almost closer to a 4-star if it wasn't for the ending. I feel like nothing about the book led up to that ending and it didn't really make sense, so it kind of ruined the book for me. So I was leaning more towards like a 3.5 star to a 4-star. Like I almost wish I had DNF'd this book because I had considered DNFing it a couple of times, and I feel like I would have a better opinion of this book if I had DNF'd it than having read it all the way through. So it ended up being a 3-star for me. So next we have Never Let Me Go by Kazou Ishiguro, and this is one of those books where like if I tell you what it's about that would be a spoiler, which I hate it when books do that, but I'm gonna try. Basically this book starts off in kind of like a school setting, like a boarding school almost, but it's like clear that the kids that are going to school have a very different, I guess, situation in life than like our normal situation. So it's kind of like a slice of life, like almost like a literary style novel, but it's trying to unravel kind of like the little details of the world building that we're getting to understand why these kids are different and what is like going to happen to them. And once you figure it out, it honestly gets kind of boring. I figured it out pretty early on, and then there was like this middle slog of this book that was just so boring. Like I considered DNFing this book quite a few times, and I just felt like the main character, the one that we are following, was such a blank slate, which could be stylistically a choice for this book. I think it would almost make sense stylistically, but I feel like the other characters weren't blank slates. Like they were like interesting characters. So like I think that idea didn't really work for me. I do think like the ending was interesting. I do think the concept of this was quite interesting. I understand why so many people like it. Like I do, but for me it just didn't really work that well, so I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. So next I want to talk about my Discworld books. I did have one that was like in the 3-star range and one that was in the 4-star range, so I felt like between the 3 and 4-star books was like the right place to put this. So the one that was in the 3-star range for me was Eric, obviously by Terry Prachett. This is super short, so it's super tiny, and this is in like the Wizards arc of the series, but I feel like it used a lot of the concepts that the Death arc uses, which I love the concept so so much. I feel like the concepts of this book are incredibly interesting, but I did not like the main character, Eric, in particular. I mean, Rincewind is still in this book, and the luggage is in this book, which you know I love the luggage, but I feel like Eric kind of ruined this book for me, so I ended up not liking this as much as I was hoping to, so I gave this one 3.25 stars. Then the other Discworld book I finished this month was Pyramids, and this one is kind of like one of like the ancient civilizations book. It's like a pure standalone, and it feels like it's based off of like ancient Egypt, which I found incredibly interesting. It's definitely one of my favorite Discworld books that I've read so far. I think the ancient civilizations are gonna be like the types of books that I really like because it is such a different like world and a different field like than our own world. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And then I also just liked like the interactions between the characters and the humor in this book. I think just hit really well for me. So I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars. So for 4-star books, the first one I want to talk about is How to Ride a Dragon Storm by Cressida Cowell. This is the, I believe, 7th book, my bad. This is the 7th book in the How to Train Your Dragon series, which is one of the series that I pulled out of my cup for my series challenge in the spring season. So I did continue on with it. There are quite a few other books in this series that I do have to get to in order to finish the series, but I enjoyed this one so much. Way more than I was expecting to. I feel like that's how I feel like with most of the How to Train Your Dragon books. It's like, it's not that great, but like when you're in it and when you're like reading it, it feels so much fun. Like I love these characters. I love their relationships to each other. I like the tribulations they have to go through, and they always go on like fun, adventurous journeys. But I also feel like at the end, like nothing has changed. Like we started someplace and then we came back around and did in the same place, but at the same time, it was so much fun. So I can't give it anything less than 4 stars because of how much I enjoyed this. Also, the audiobooks are amazing. I love the audiobook productions. So I will be continuing on with the series, and hopefully by the end, we will get a little bit more progress in like themes or like characterization or character growth or like those sort of things. But overall, I still enjoyed how much fun this book was. Next, I want to talk about The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. So this book is a romantic contemporary, and Abby Jimenez is one of those authors that I have grown to really like, particularly for her Part of Your World series. So I decided to pick up some of her previous books, and this one was a lot of fun as well. I will say I can see like the growth in her writing from like this series to her Part of Your World series, but I still ended up liking this one a lot. I feel like there's a tagline in this that says it's like an enemies to lovers type of romance, which I completely disagree with. They start off a little bit as adversaries because they get into a car accident and they're like angry at each other in the beginning because of the car accident, but like that goes away pretty quickly. And like, I mean, it's called The Friend Zone, so it's definitely like more of a friends to lovers type of situation. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I think it was just a lot of fun, and I would recommend this, especially if you're looking for something just light and easy to read. This one definitely hit the spot, but at the same time, there were like things that were added in that were incredibly like interesting to see actually in the books. Like for example, the main character in this book had very problematic like menstrual period, and because of that, like it created a lot of health problems for her. So like getting to see her go through that and overcome like certain aspects of that as well was, I think, very interesting. I felt like that was just something that you don't get to see a lot in romance novels, and I love that Abby Jimenez includes things like that in her novels. So I ended up enjoying this a lot, and I can't wait to read more books in this series. So the next book I want to talk about is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kliewer. So this one I actually feel like is probably worth more than the 4.25 stars I gave it. I'm considering bumping it up to a 4.5 stars, but I enjoyed this so much. I wasn't expecting anything from this book, mind you. So it's a thriller novel in which it's following a couple who just moved to this house and are looking to flip the house and like make money off of it. But pretty early on in this renovation, this family shows up at the door saying that they used to live here and they want a tour of the house. But then the family kind of like never leaves, and it devolves from there. Like I don't want to say what happens because I feel like that would be too many spoilers, but I enjoyed every second of this, and I feel like it had like this element to it, like it was trying to explain a phenomena I found incredibly interesting. It felt almost like a sci-fi thriller as opposed to just like a regular thriller, and that really worked for me. I do think it wasn't as atmospheric as some of the other thrillers that I've read, but I did get like the chills at times, so I enjoyed this a lot, and the longer I think about it, the more I like this, so it's definitely one that I would recommend. And then the first of my 5-star books this month was Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I kind of expected this one to be 5 stars, like it was a 5-star prediction for me. I'm so glad I ended up loving this. I kind of went off of TBR to read this. Actually, most of this month I went off of TBR, but I just was feeling the urge to read this book. Like I just wanted to read it so much, so I decided to go ahead and do it. And it's like super short, so I knew it wasn't going to take that long. This is like one of those books where like you don't really know what is going on and you try and figure it out as it happens, and I absolutely love that about this book. It's following a character who we call Piranesi, and he like lives in this house, but the house is kind of weird. Like the bottom of the house, like the bottom story of the house, it's like flooded with the ocean, and like the top story of the house is sky, and there's like clouds, and sometimes it rains and things like that. And I found it incredibly fascinating to see this character kind of like explore this house, but also he's a very unreliable narrator because you can tell that things are not exactly what they seem. Like what he's telling you is not necessarily what is true. And I loved his character because he felt a little bit like Anne from Anne of Green Gables, where like he has this very like whimsical, almost childlike personality, but like there's a reason for it and it's good. And I enjoyed this so much. I do think there are like parallels in this book to like mental health and things like that that I find incredibly interesting. And that's like the part of it that made me really love this book and ended up giving this one 5 stars. But I think overall, this is just a really well written book. I feel like we just need more books like this. I'm actually surprised that it was this short because I feel like I could have continued reading like about this, but I enjoyed this so much. I will say, like, if you're in it for the plot, that's probably not the best place to be, just because I found it to be quite easy to figure out what was going to happen, but I still enjoyed exploring the book even after I knew what was going to happen, if that makes sense. So I enjoyed this a lot, and I definitely want to pick up more by this author now. And lastly, my favorite book that I read this month was Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This book completely surprised me. Like, I wasn't expecting to like this book half as much as I ended up liking it, which you would think, like, The Hunger Games is one of my favorite series of all time. Suzanne Collins is one of my favorite authors of all time. Like, I've read pretty much every book that she's written, but I didn't expect to like this as much as I ended up liking it, because I think like Ballad of Songbirds and Snake, I didn't end up loving it nearly as much as I was expecting to. I remember just thinking it was like okay. It was a 3-star book for me. So I wasn't expecting to love Sunrise on the Reaping. Like, I originally didn't even buy the physical book of it because I was just like, if I'm not gonna reread this book multiple times over and over, there's no reason for me to buy the physical book. But I listened to the audiobook. Like, I somehow got it immediately from my library. I got super lucky and I could not put this down. And at the end, I was in a complete book hangover. Like, I wanted to just like stay in this world. I just wanted to continue on in this world. Like, I needed a second and third book in this series. Like, I needed a new series in the Hunger Games world because of how good this book was. I think the main thing I loved the most was how information was disseminating. So like, I think thematically this book fit in really well with the original series, but it also took kind of like new themes and things that are relevant today in a way that I wasn't really expecting it to, but it did it so well because it tied back to the original series really well too. Because in the original series, in Catching Fire, I believe, we see Katniss and Peeta kind of watching this Hunger Games, like what happened in it, what Haymitch went through, like how he won and all of those things. But then we see the actual story of what happened from Haymitch's perspective. And so it's obviously very different than what Katniss and Peeta saw. But then at the end, we also get to see Haymitch seeing the broadcasts of what actually went out to the people. And it was just like, I don't even know what to say. So like, not only did we get to see it from Katniss and Peeta's perspective, we also get to see it from Haymitch's perspective. And it was so incredibly different, but it's also interesting to see how like they didn't lie. Like, the Capitol didn't lie. They didn't create any false footage or anything like that. But at the same time, they managed to manipulate the footage and the facts in a way that made the story look completely different than what was actually happening. And I feel like that's something that we see a lot today. And that is something that I feel like a lot of us are trying to like understand our own media environment. So I just related so well to what Haymitch was going through that it was so hard to like move on from this book. Like, I was in a complete book hangover after this. I could not read anything else. So obviously I had to give this 5 stars because one, it was the Hunger Games still. Like, it was like, we got to see a story. We got to love these characters. We got to be like mourn these characters as well. But also it brought back a lot of like the thematic elements that the original Hunger Games had that made me fall in love with the series in the first place. I ended up loving this so much. Like, I would say this is my second favorite Hunger Games novels. Like, even more than like Catching Fire and Mockingjay. I think the only Hunger Games novel that I like more than this is like the original book, like the first book in the series. But like, this one is like a high number 2 for me. So I ended up loving this so much, and of course I gave it 5 stars. So that is all I have for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. I have a goal of posting at least 1 video per week, so please consider subscribing. subscribing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.